Well, of that very interesting story there, Dr. Manoj, about conservation agriculture. Let's start again at the macro level. In the past decades, we saw government, foreign farmers, the colonialists, others, come in and put extensive man-made forests where they plant one kind of tree over thousands and thousands of acres in some places. And this is actually what we're talking about, monocropping. And people don't often realize that this then denies things in nature the opportunity to grow and take up those sorts of spaces. What should we be doing in this case?
Yeah, I think in this case, again, when you're saying that people are coming and they're putting the monoculture, the forest forms, is again the market-driven and the economics-driven of that particular agenda. But again, I'll come to the specific point of the biodiversity and to helping the small-scale farmers and to retaining the quality of our soils and the crop health for long-term sustainability. So I would differ with saying in the monocropping, but it should be a diversified cropping systems, and that starts from the agroforestry system, the forestry systems, the crops, and the different horticulture systems. So I would recommend to the farmers to prefer that one instead of having the market pressure of the
at policy level. Are there crops that we can start to talk about, to point to, that people like governments, others, we've seen a lot of agriculture getting devolved to the grassroots? Are there things we can point to that we then say that these are very friendly towards the diversified, mixed kind of cropping systems that enable us to do that conservation agriculture, that enable us do minimum tillage, that enable us have multiple crops in one setting, so that we then start to regenerate our soil in the ways that we're saying?
Yeah, indeed. I think the good thing about our policy system is that they rely mostly on the staple crops,
yes,
which the farmers are really indeed in terms of their own consumption or in terms of the market. And now the governments are really promoting, as I said, in this African Soil Fertilizer Summit. So the farmers have also started caring about of diversifying the production systems. Suppose one time you are using the maize and you are mixing it with the legumes. So the crop in hand, they are mutually benefiting each other. The legume is providing a nitrogen fixer to the maize, and so you need not to add external inputs in the farm, because they are mutually benefiting each other. Similarly, if you mixed for the cropping system, diversifying the farm, let's say you were talking about agroforestry system or the different, or let's say, again, take the example of cassava or maize, and you are diversifying, you are putting in some horticulture system. So on one hand, one way you have a staple crop, another way you have an horticulture crop, which is really economic crop, I would say. So it gives farmers a higher return in a shorter period of time. So I think that's the point where we need to make the balance of our farming systems.
One of the things that would enable us be able to engage in this more holistically, more sustainably, is the use of technology, modern technology, which would then enable you to be able to farm, but in a way that is not as invasive and that sort of thing. Now, one of the major challenges to that approach is at the average age of an African farmer, north of 50 in most cases. Very hard to change their behavior, very hard to drive the uptake of technology and that sort of thing. Do you think as we get younger and younger farmers into the mix, we've seen the conversation around the Gen Z and the creation of job opportunities, as we get these people into these sorts of value chains, do you think the results will be positive in terms of what we are talking about?
Indeed, yes, I would say, because now when we talked about the social behavior and social change, is the young population who are really concerning about, apart from the job creation, which is again a very important factor in the sustainable farming practices and things like that, and is also improving the livelihood of the people, because when you say the food is organically grown and one is grown with the fertilizer, of course the people prefer about organic, and this comes the factor of the nutrition and of the human health, where the young population and the young people immediately recognize and they realize, okay, for me, I have to work, but first of all, my health is important. So that's where the good thing is that it's easy to drive in that factors, and in the notion of considering the market opportunities, the job opportunities, as well as bringing the concept of the nutrition and the healthy diets. And we are happy, like at some point the government has also started these things at the school levels, where they are promoting the nutritionists and some leafy vegetables, kind of a healthy food in the school system. And there are a lot of school feeding programs that has been started. So I think the young population are really interested in that, and there are growing demand on moving our agriculture system towards this side.
Are there any countries, any jurisdictions where you can say that we've started to see this becoming broad-based, that they've started to walk the talk in terms of really doing the regenerative action on soil, or even conserving it, or have been doing it all along? Any place where we can start to borrow lessons from?
Yes, I would say there are a lot of number of people, like those who are really working on the ground, especially like for us, we as a researcher, as an international organization, bringing the expertise from the different globe, and how the farming practices differ from Africa to Asia and to Latin America. But there are so many other partners, including so many NGOs who are really working on ground, especially in Kisumu and in Vihiga, where we are currently working, in Kenya only, where the people bring expertise from the different parts of the globe, even in different parts of the countries, and they are trying to help the farmers, they are trying to share the knowledge. That's the good thing about agroecologies and sustainable farming practices and nature positive. When there is a boom, people come together, they share the practices, and they share the benefits, they share the knowledge. So I would say there's a lot of opportunities, and a lot of organizations, they are already having a deep dive into it. And indeed, we are also working with the national partners. We are like a Carlo Kibos in Kisumu and the other parts. So they are also really interested in that part, and they are also sharing their expertise. And we are working together hand in hand and sharing the experience.
In conclusion, as we start to wind up, let's talk about the value chain, the entire thing from the crop to market, in terms of conservation of our biodiversity. This presents lots of opportunity for wealth and job creation for the youth and many other people along that value chain. Where do you think the opportunity is being, that people can start to carve their own niches and be able to create livings, either creating advisory for farmers or helping them walk this journey of restoration of their soil?
Yeah, I think the opportunity relies from the starting point until the end point. When you start from the production systems, you go until the value chain system or the market values. So when I was talking about organic farming practices or organic system in an aggregated farms, let's say somebody has a compost plant, and they have some livestock. So they can use the livestock for making the compost, and that has a real value. It's a gem that can be used in improving the soil fertility, that can be sold in a market very easily. And then you go to the crops, you are putting that compost in the farms, you look for the crops, you try to sell your crops, improving the productivity, and also whatever in different perspective. And then after the crop, you have a different post-harvest value chains that your crop is bringing in different types of the crop. So at every step, there are the opportunities that relies in all these value chains, starting from the consumer level to the producer level to the consumer level, and until you go to the last point. So I think the young generation are really need to tap these opportunities and to work on this. There is a huge market potential.
Yes, so finally, in case you feel there's something that you feel we've not touched on, this is then the opportunity for that as we close. Anything important that you feel we need to highlight that we may not have been able to talk about so far?
Yeah, I think the first and the foremost things is concerning about the production system. And when we are talking about smallholder farming systems, we all, like policy makers, extension workers, researchers, we all should come together to help them, because they are the backbone of the country. They are the backbone of any anything, I would say, in the globe. If there is no food, there is no life.
Yes.
So they are the producers. And so we need to make the policies that, as researchers, brings the knowledge, the extension worker brings the technologies, that a kind of a mixed system that helps these farmers, and so that they are really happy, and in terms of their production system, in terms of the economics, and in terms of the livelihood. So that's the knowledge and the sharing we together we need to bring to.
So essentially what you're saying is that the backbone of the global food economy is the small-scale farmer, not necessarily the large conglomerates, the large farmers that we have been focusing on in a very, very big way. And in closing then, I think it's safe then to say that, Dr. we have been able to impart quite a bit of knowledge today for our young farmers. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to us here today. We, of course, hope to have you later on so that we can delve into other aspects of the soil diversity that we might not have touched on. But for now, thank you very much. And for viewers, of course, to remind you that the Farm Kenya show continues here tomorrow, of course, discussing other topics along the agriculture value chain. But for now, our time is up. Of course, the show continues here on KTN, so do stay with us. My name is Peter Akaba. It has been a blast, and see you again next time.
Thank you very much.